So here they are. They control the House and the Senate and the White House. They lock Democrats out of the process. They go to pass their big tax cut bill yesterday. And even with all of that power, they still couldn't get it right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect example of why it's very dangerous to jam through a bill without hearings, without witnesses. You know, one of the things that you hope is that, you know, when you have a hearing and you bring in witnesses who provide their expertise and tell you here are the good things about the bill, here are the bad things, you can improve it. They didn't do that. Last time we did tax reform, there were 400 witnesses that testified over the course of almost 2 years. Very complicated legislation to reform the tax code. That's how you're supposed to do it in a kind of thoughtful, deliberate way. There were no hearings, no witnesses. The bill was drafted and brought right to the floor. In fact, in the Senate, there were even handwritten notes in the side. And, apparently the lobbyists and the special interests knew about some of the provisions before the senators did. This is not a way to craft good legislation that advances the interests of the American people.
Wait, this isn't how it always happens?
Right. I mean, so, I think that that's one of the reasons that they sort of made that blunder. But the real heart and soul of this is, look, this is not a tax cut for middle-class families. This is a tax cut for the richest people in this country, the most powerful corporations. 83% of working families will see an increase in their taxes over the term of this bill. 86% of the tax cuts go to the top 1%. So this is trickle-down economics in statutory form. It's really about let people at the very top hold on to all of their money, and it will trickle down to the rest of it. And they're going to give it away to their employees and give it away to create jobs. There's no evidence to support that. In fact, all the evidence is to the contrary. But, some of my House Republican colleagues actually said it out loud. They said, if we don't pass the tax cut for our donors, they told us don't bother calling them. They actually said it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's so that. And look, we need to reform the tax code. It's too complicated. It's not competitive. It's unfair. But we ought to have started with a bipartisan effort to do it in a collaborative way. And the focus should have been a tax cut for middle-class families, hardworking people that haven't seen a pay raise in decades. That's where the focus should be. That's not what this bill does at all.
And the last time there was tax reform, it took, as you pointed out, a couple of years. Democrats and Republicans working together, endless hearings.
That's right.
And witnesses and everything. And this is just, crafted in the middle of the night on the back of an envelope.
Right.
Basically.
As my wonderful colleague Jamie Raskin said, it was crafted at the speed of light in the dark of night. And it's really true. Like, jam this thing through because, of course, the more the American people learn about it, the less they like it. They understand that the Republican Party is providing a huge tax cut to the biggest corporations in this country, to the wealthiest people in this country, and that it's not going to benefit hardworking middle-class families. Folks know that. They think, because the bill provides a, very small little amount of money in the early years.
For a couple of years.
That, somehow you're going to fool the American people. People are smarter than that. They understand that over the term of this bill, they're going to have their taxes increased. They understand that a $1.5 trillion debt means there are going to be devastating cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, Pell Grants, infrastructure investments, job training, veteran spending. This is a real wonderful trick. You give away $1.5 trillion that the government doesn't have, you don't pay for it, and then you come back next year and say, we have no money. Mm-hmm. Of course we have to end the guarantee of Medicare and cut Social Security. And of course we won't have any money. They'll have achieved that. But this is terrible. Democrats have to be committed when we go back into the majority to reversing this horrible tax.
Right. We felt one of the most memorable quotes yesterday, bites yesterday, was from Senator Orrin Hatch, who's sort of one of the chief architects in the Senate, of course, as chair of the Senate Finance Committee, saying, this day, a day that will live in history.
The Democrats have said that the American people will remember this night. I hope they do, because we passed one of the most important tax breaks in this country's history.
I hope they do, too. We're going to do everything we can to make sure they never forget what the Republicans did. In fact, when they passed the bill in the House and they broke out in thunderous applause, and there was a gentleman protesting in the gallery saying, protect my health care, protect my Medicare, and they dragged him out and they were cheering, and I thought, we should make sure there's film of this. Like, you just imposed a tremendous cost on working families. You gave a huge giveaway, a tax giveaway to people who don't need it in this country, who have seen tremendous growth in their wealth. And you've virtually guaranteed deep cuts in many of the investments that are essential to middle-class families, from Medicare and Social Security and Pell Grants and job training, and you're cheering, and sort of who you cheering for. They kept referring to it. We need some points on the board, as if this was a sporting game. It's like, what about some points on the board for the American people? What about taking some action that will actually benefit hardworking families that are struggling, that have not seen their income go up, that are working 2 and 3 jobs just to get by, and that are going to see their taxes go up in this bill? It was really awful.
Right.